Well, hello once again. Good to see you. I hope everybody is okay. I hope that you really enjoyed the last time we had this Q&A together. And hello, Mr. Baloo. May God bless you. Praise God. And I hope that if you had a chance to watch the Q&A on Glossolalia, then go ahead and share it. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, then go ahead and watch it. It will be a blessing to you. And I know he's going to answer a lot of your questions. Praise God. All right. Pastor Ayo, were you able to watch the Q&A on tongues? Were you able to do that? It's good to see you again today, sir. Praise God. All right. Now, today we are going to have a great time. So I can see Pastor Ayo's reply. Let me see my YouTube people. All right. All right. Thank you, Lord Jesus. So just say hello and invite your friends. We're going to have a great time in the Word today. All right. Now, today is our Life and Career Enhancement Day. And I want to talk to you today to give you some principles, some things you can learn and put in place. Thank you, Pastor Ayo. May the Lord bless you. And I hope that your wife liked her little gift, the little video that we did for her. I hope it was fine for her, sir. May the Lord bless you. You're a very thoughtful man. Okie dokie. All right. So today, as we go into, hey, Miss Brenda, may the Lord bless you. As we go into today's teaching, in the Life and Career Enhancement, the subject today is going to be wisdom from Agar's 4 little creatures. And I'm going to be talking to you about the wisdom lesson that you can learn from the ant. And good evening, good afternoon again, Miss Bonnie. Good afternoon, Pushtika. God bless you. All right, so let's read Proverbs chapter 30. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 1, and then verse 24 till verse 28. Proverbs is the book of wisdom, gives us great keys on how to live successfully in every facet of our lives. Although most of the Proverbs are attributed to Solomon, but there were other respective authors. You have the saying of the wise, the words of Agar, and King Lemuel of Massa. Some people have the idea that Lemuel was also Solomon. But I want us to look at the wisdom of Agar. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 30, verse 1, and then 24 till verse 28. It says, the words of Agar, the son of Jakeh, even the prophecy. I want you please to underline that. Even the prophecy. There be 4 things which are little upon the earth. Now I need you to underline that. There are 4 things which are little upon the earth, but they are exceeding wise. They are exceeding wise. The ants are a people. So circle the word ants. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. The conies, so circle the second word I want you to circle is the word conies, are but a feeble folk, yet they make their houses in the rocks. The locusts have no kings, yet they go forth all of them by hands. The spider taketh hold with her hands and is in the king's palaces. Now, I need you to circle the word ants, circle the word conies, circle the word locust, and then circle the word spider. These are the 4 little creatures that we can learn the secrets of success and prosperity from. Now, again, you notice the word, it says it begins with the words of Agar. Not much is known about Agar. From his name, though, we understand certain things. Agar means gatherer. Agar means gatherer. So, we can conclude that this man, whoever he may be, was a gatherer of wisdom. And after having observed these 4 little creatures in the Middle East, he then proceeded to impart great wisdom to those who will heed on how to live a successful life. Okay? The wisdom of Agar will hopefully encourage you and motivate you to move in the right direction in your life. Again, Agur said, there are four things on the earth that are small but unusually wise. These four little creatures. Okay, the gatherer says, from these four things, from these four little creatures, they're very small, very tiny, but yet you can draw wisdom from them. Remember, wisdom is the principal thing. Okay? The first point that I want to make is that great things can come in small packages. Great thing can come in small packages. Second is that little is big when wisdom is applied. Little is big when wisdom is applied. Third is that size does not matter. What look like disadvantages can be turned to your advantages. What look like a disadvantage to you right now can be turned to your advantage. So never underestimate small things. Never underestimate small things. In fact, we're told, neglect not the days of small beginnings. Everybody has to start somewhere. All right? God used an ant, a coney, locust, and spider to give us wisdom. To most people, the ant and the three respective creatures would have been overlooked, okay, and never been the subject of any lesson. Because when we think of magnificent creatures, when we think of super animals, we do not think of the ant, and we do not think of locusts. An ant does not come to your mind when you're thinking about a magnificent animal. Most Westerners wouldn't even have a clue as to what a coney is. Because when we think of great animals, our minds would revert to the lion, the horse, or the elephant. You know, if you are in South Africa, and I've been to South Africa many, many, many times, over there they talk about the big five. And I think the big five, if I'm not mistaken, is the buffalo, the elephant, the leopard, the rhino, and the lion. The buffalo, the elephant, the leopard, the rhino, and the lion. And it would seem that God would have used any of these magnificent five, all right, to teach us wisdom from life, for life, or for management, or for business. Yet God overlooked the big five, okay, and went after the small four, okay. So Agur told us that there is exceeding wisdom that we can draw from these tiny four little creatures, okay. So today, I want to talk to you about lessons from the ant. What can we learn from the ant? Since this is what Agur brought to our attention. Agur stated, the ants are a people not strong. I want you please to underline that. And yet they prepare their meat in the summer. Throughout the scriptures, the ant is mentioned twice. Let me say it again. When you peruse the Bible, when you go through the scriptures, the ant is mentioned twice in the scriptures. And here are the two references. We're going to look at them in the book of Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 to verse 11. And then Proverbs chapter 30, okay, verse 25. All right, now, so Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 to verse 11. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, no overseer or ruler, provides her meat in the summer, and gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you sleep, O sluggard? When will you arise out of your sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hand to sleep, so shall your poverty come as one that traveleth, and your want as an armed man. And then the second reference is what we just read in Proverbs 30, verse 25. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. Okay, so what can we learn from the ant? I want to give you maybe 10 or 11 thoughts that you can wisdom thoughts, wisdom keys that you can derive from the ant. Okay? From this tiny little creature, what can you learn from them? I'm going to give you 10 or 11. Now, I remember this. I'm sure you've done this. When I was a little boy, little kid, one day I came back from school and I saw some ants walking out on my steps outside the house. So I got me a hammer and I began talking to the ants because I didn't have any wisdom. I was a little boy. I was a little kid, just mischievous little boy. I got me my hammer and I said, "Hello, Mr. Ant. How you doing today?" And I would pretend like the ant is talking back to me. "Well, I'm fine, Mr. Glenn." I said, Are you fine, Mr. Ant?" He said, "Yes, sir." Well, bam, smacked it on the head, killed the ant. All right. I said, "Well, you ain't fine no more. Go and meet your maker." Now, that was a cruel thing to do, but I was a mischievous little boy. And I didn't know that you could learn wisdom, you can learn success, you can learn business principles, you can learn about life and success from the ant. Praise God. So let me tell you about what we can learn from the ant. Number one, the first thing I want you to do is to write this down. The ant teaches you that wisdom is better than physical strength. Wisdom is better than physical strength. Okay? Using your skill is better than using your strength. Using your skill is better than using your strength. We're told by Agur, the ants are a people not strong. Spiritual and mental strength is the key to prosperity. Spiritual and mental strength is the key to prosperity. Wisdom will always exceed physical limitation. Wisdom will always exceed physical limitations. Those who make their living by their strength will eventually be limited. Those who make their living by their strength will eventually come to the end of that time of their life, that period, because we all get older and we all get we don't have the same strength that we used to have when we were 21 years old. Okay, we don't have the same speed that we had when we were 21 years old. But those who make their living by their minds will always have the edge over those who are physically strong. Let me say it again. Those who make their living by their strength will eventually be limited. But those who make their living by their minds, using their minds, will always have the edge over the physically strong. You know, I read a quote many, many years ago, and I want to quote it to you from one of America's greatest presidents, Abraham Lincoln. He said this. He said, "If I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 6 hours sharpening my axe." Did you hear that? Abraham Lincoln said, "If I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 6 hours sharpening my axe." Why? Because, you see, the Bible tells you that wisdom is better than strength. Wisdom is better than strength. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 16. Wisdom is better than strength. So he said, I would spend the first 6 hours sharpening my axe, and then the next 2 hours, because of my sharpened axe, it will give me speed and the result that I'm looking for quickly. You got to use your mind first before you start using your physical power. Many of us, we've got it backwards. We use our physical strength before using our mind. If you read Genesis chapter 25 and verse 27, it says, talking about Isaac and talking about Esau, it says, "And the boys grew." Now remember that when Rebekah went to inquire, because there was a moving in her belly about what she was carrying, God said to her, "There are twins in your belly, and 2 nations are within you, 2 manner of people are inside of you." And when you look at the world's countries today, All right, you have two types of nations. You have two types of people. And you're going to ask yourself what kind of people you are, what kind of person you are, and what kind of nation that you live into. It says here, Genesis 25, verse 27, it says, and the boys grew. That means Esau and Isaac, they both grew. And Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. So he made his living by his strength. He made his living by his hands. But Jacob was a plain man. Now I want you please to underline the word plain man, because when you read that in today's vernacular, you would think, well, he's just a simpleton. That's not what it means. Okay? Dwelling in tents. Dwelling in tents. So I want you please to circle the word or underline the words plain man. Okay? And then underline the keywords here, dwelling in tents. So remember that when it says here plain man, it's not talking about like he was a simpleton. The word plain here, if you go back and check it in the Hebrew, he was an upstanding guy. Okay, he was one who used his brain. Dwelling in tents. Now, write the word dwelling in tents. According to Matthew Paul, all right, commentary, he said dwelling in tents would refer to quietly minding the management of his own domestic affairs, his land, and his cattle. So that tells you that Jacob understood management. He understood business. Whereas Esau was somebody who just made life by the strength of his arms. Whereas Jacob made his life, made his living by the strength of his mind. Jacob understood business. He understood management. So, and understand this, the worker will always be subject to the business person. Are you hearing me? The strength-minded person, the person who makes his kill only by his hands, will always submit to the one, or will always be at the mercy of the one who uses his brain. Are you listening? So, whereas Esau was a consumer, remember, he wanted to consume the pot of lentils. Jacob, on the other hand, he was the producer. He knew how to cook the lentils. So in life, you'll discover there are consumer nations and producer nations. Like right now in America, we are a producing nation. Now, if your nations, when you look at the import and export, if your nation is importing more than what it is exporting, then your nation is not a producing nation, but a consuming nation. Now, all nations are consuming nations, but you got to be, prosperity comes when you are a producer. So the key to life and success is to be a producer, not just a consumer. Okay? So the ant teaches us that wisdom is better than physical strength. The second thing we can learn from the ant is that the ant teaches you to understand the seasons of life and how to properly position and prepare for the seasons. Let me say it again. The ant teaches you that you must understand the seasons of life and how you must properly position and prepare for the seasons. Okay? Now the Bible tells you in the 1 Chronicles chapter 12 and verse 32 that the sons of Issachar, they understood times and season and what Israel ought to do. They understood time and season and what Israel ought to do. Now listen to me very carefully. When you don't have a proper concept of time and season in which you're living, then you will not be properly prepared and you will not position yourself for what is coming ahead of you. Okay, so you need to understand the season in which you are living right now and what is coming ahead in the future. So, the ant teaches you to that you must understand the season of life, the seasons of life. Your life is made up of seasons. All right? There was a time, a season in your life when you were a child. Then you became a teenager. Then you became a young adult, and you became a fully grown adult, and now you may be an elderly person. So the seasons have changed. Okay, just like we have seasons in the natural that change, the seasons of your life are constantly changing. And so you got to know how to position yourself and prepare yourself in the seasons of life. Okay? That's why Solomon said, to everything there is a time and there is a season. Now, so the ant teaches you to understand the seasons of life and how to properly position yourself and prepare for the seasons. The right now season and the season ahead of you. As a matter of fact, the ant prepares for the winter in the summer. He prepares for the winter in the summer. He does not think that summer will last forever. Some of you thought that you could be young forever. It doesn't work that way. But he uses the summer to work in order to be satisfied, to be prepared for the winter. He was proactive in the summer season of his life in order to be fully prepared and fully provided in the winter. You need to write this down, okay? Now, I've noticed, living in Louisville, Kentucky, we have the 4 seasons, okay? I've noticed that the ants are very visible in the summertime, but I do not see them in the wintertime. I do not see ants in the wintertime. Do you know what I've seen in the wintertime? Okay, trying to get into the house? It's the mouse. The mouse tries to get into the house in wintertime. Okay? Why? Because the mouse is looking for food, is looking for warmth in the wintertime. Why? Because the mouse was busy living it up in the summertime, having a party in the summertime, but was not like the ant, who was proactive and he was proactive in the summertime so that he can be prepared for the wintertime and be provided for, having provision in the wintertime. Okay? The ant was busy working while the mouse was just living it up. Okay, now. All right, now, the third thing we can learn, well, write this down, please, before we go to number 3. You need to understand the cycles of life. You need to understand the cycles of life. You need to understand time. You need to understand God created the sun to rule by day and the moon to rule by night. Okay, but the moon gets its light. It doesn't create light. The moon doesn't have light. The moon gets its light by reflecting the light of the sun. Okay? The moon reflects, the light that it gets is a reflection from the sun. And so the sun to rule by day and the moon to rule by night. From the time that you get about 16, 15 years old, or let's say 14 years old, till 62, 65, you are in the sun season of your life. And it's what you do in the sun season of your life that will be reflected in the moon season of your life. And let me tell you this, the sun season of your life will come to an end. And that's why you got to do things in the sun season of your life, so that when you do get into the moon season of your life, that you have enough that will be able to reflect what you have put in the sun season. This is why, while you can right now, you got to work, you got to sow, you got to save, you got to invest, so that when you get into the moon season of your life, where you can't work physically like you used to work, but you've got enough in reserve to take care of you in the future. You don't ever want to be subject of the government that looks after you. Are you listening? Are you following me so far? So you got to prepare. Preparation procures provision. Preparation precedes provision or prosperity. Preparation will provoke your potential into power. All right. The third thing that we can learn from the ant is that the ant teaches you to be 2 seasons ahead. The ant teaches you to prepare 2 seasons ahead. How many people do you know right now? How many nations do you know right now whose citizens are suffering? Okay, because they had nothing prepared for a crisis. They had nothing, and now the citizens are left on their own, and the people also, because they didn't prepare 2 seasons ahead of time, they find in a time of crisis, they find themselves in a crisis. Are you listening? Now, so the ant teaches us to be 2 seasons ahead. Now, what does that mean? We're told specifically here that the ant prepares for the winter in the summer. It does not prepare for the winter in the winter or even in the fall. But the ant is 2 seasons ahead. He is 2 seasons ahead. He has the mind to work in the summertime in order to rest or to have provision in the wintertime. Now, what do I mean by that? That he prepares 2 seasons ahead of time. Well, if you live in America and if you live in the West, in Europe, and you have the 4 seasons, and you will know that you have summer, right? Summertime. Before summer, you have what? Spring. Spring, summer, fall, or the autumn, and then you have wintertime, right? So spring, summer, the fall, and then winter. So before you get to winter, you have the wintertime, you've got the fall. But he's working in the summer. So before he gets to winter, right, he's working 2 seasons ahead of time to prepare for the wintertime. This is why I'm telling you, the ant teaches you to be 2 seasons ahead. Okay? So you got to understand right now, if you are between the ages of 14, 15 to 62, you are in the summertime of your life. All right. The world called this period of time your earning years. Your earning years. Now, while you can enjoy this season, and you should be enjoying this season, but you should have the vision to put stuff away for the winter season of your life. Always think ahead. Always be ahead of the game. Use your time right now to prepare for the future. Okay? There'll be coming a time where I will be 60 years old, where I'll be 65 years old, where I'll be 70 years old. And it's what I'm doing now that will determine what I will have when I'm 65 and 70 years old. Okay? So the ant teaches you, do not prepare for emergencies in time of emergencies. No. But you prepare for times of emergencies in the future, in the now, in the ease moment that you have in your life. So that's number 3. Number 4, the ant teaches you to turn disadvantages to your advantage and to your profit. The ant teaches you to turn your disadvantages to your advantages, to your advantage and to your profit. Your little finger is bigger than the ant. Okay, the ant is very small and insignificant. And from all angles, when you look at it, there's nothing striking about the ant. Yet, he turns obstacles into opportunities. I want you to write this down. He turns obstacles into opportunities. Whatever you think that your disadvantages are, you can turn them and make them work for you. Whatever you think are your disadvantages today, you can turn them and make them work for you. Now, I was born in a little tropical island called Mauritius, which derived its name from a Dutch person, Prince Maurice de Nassau. But Mauritius was, first of all, a French colony. And then it was colonized by the British. So before we became British, we were first of all French. Okay? So now what happened that, if you go back to the history of Mauritius, they brought people, the French brought people from Africa, and from all different parts of Africa. And then the British, they brought people from let me back up again. The French brought people from Africa, different parts of Africa, and then they were living there on the island, and then they intermingled, and that produced some of the Creoles, and then the British came over and took over, and then they brought slaves from India and from other parts. They brought the Chinese and so forth and so on. Okay? Now, when I was born in that little island, in school, you have to speak French. Okay? And then the official language is technically English, but nobody speaks English. Now, in Parliament, they speak English, but in school and on the job, everybody speaks French. Okay, now, and then on the street, people speak Creole. Okay, now listen to this. But when I moved from Mauritius as a very young person, a little boy, and I came over into England, I spoke enough of French and not enough of English, okay? But I had a very limited French because I left that place as a little kid. And now I get into England, I can't speak English. Are you following me? So now I'm growing in this atmosphere, and I'm thinking to myself, you can't speak English, that's not your first tongue, all right? And your French is limited now because you only got the vocabulary of a little boy. Are you listening? So I had to learn. So I felt like, this is not helping me. But what I thought was a disadvantage to me became an advantage to me, because now I can both understand and communicate in English and in French. And I hope you can understand my English. Okay? I hope that you can understand my English. So what I thought was a minus, because I worked on it, became a plus. So the ant teaches you, right, because of his size, which many will think that's not a plus, but he turned what was deemed as a disadvantage to his advantage. So learn to take what you think are your disadvantages and turn them to your advantage and to your profit. So now I can communicate, I can talk, I can present my thoughts in English and in French. In fact, right after I finish this session, I have to go and do a live teaching in French. Okay. Now, so number 4, the ant teaches you to turn your disadvantages to your advantage and to your profit. Number 5, the ant, what you can learn from the ant is that the ant teaches you to be self-motivated, self-regulated, and self-managed. Let me say it again. That is so, so important. The ant teaches you to be self-motivated, self-regulated, and self-managed. The ant doesn't need anybody to motivate him. Okay? How do I know that? Look at Proverbs chapter 6 from verse 6 to verse 11. Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways. Now, sluggard means lazy. Okay, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, no overseer, no ruler, yet it provides her meat in the summer, gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you sleep, O sluggard? The ant teaches you, listen, you don't spend your life sleeping. If you love too much sleep, poverty will come on you. That's what the scripture says. Poverty will come on you as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man. So he was self-motivated, self-regulated, and self-managed. He did not need anybody to come and manage him. And that's what you got to be. See, the ant is proactive. He was action-oriented. Are you action-oriented? Are you self-motivated? That's what I like. I don't need anybody to really. I don't really need anybody to motivate me. Okay, and I like one verse in the scriptures that says that David encouraged himself in the Lord. You've got to learn to self-encourage. You've got to learn to be self-motivated, self-regulated, and self-managed. All right? If people have to manage you all the time, then you know you got a problem. Okay? Who managed the manager? Who managed your boss? And the reason why the boss is your boss is because he is self-oriented, self-managed, self-motivated. Okay? You got to be self-motivated. Motivate yourself. Motivate yourself. So the ant teaches you to be self-motivated, self-regulated, and self-managed. That's number 5. Number 6. Write this down, please. The ant teaches you that size does not matter and does not determine your potential. Size does not matter and it does not determine your potential. Although small in stature, the ant fulfills his potential and feeds his family. It teaches you that it is not what you look like on the outside that determines how well that you do in life, but how big that you are on the inside. Okay? How big that you are on the inside. The ant is small in physical stature, but big in mental stature. This is why I want you to develop mental strength. Develop spiritual strength, mental strength. Okay? Now, there are many people today who go to the gym and they work out, they got muscle upon muscles. But then the muscle, the size of the muscles does not correspond with their brain muscle, with their mind muscle. So they don't have the mental strength. And even though they look physically strong, but because they're mentally weak, they fall to pieces in the crisis, which reminds me of that verse in the book of Proverbs when Solomon says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Another version says, I believe it's the Message Bible, that says, if you fall to pieces in a crisis, then there's nothing to you to begin with. So, the ant, number 6, teaches you that size, physical size, does not matter. Okay? To determine your potential. You got to live life from the inside out. You've got to live life from the inside out. Okay. Number 7, and I love number 7, the ant teaches you to be industrious and to be hardworking. The ant teaches you to be industrious and to be hardworking. He's not lazy. He has a get up and go attitude. He has a get up and go attitude. The ant is not afraid of work. The ant is not afraid of work. Remember this, before God gave Adam a woman, He gave him work. Before God gave Adam a woman, He gave him work. Are you listening? So the ant teaches you to be industrious and to be hardworking. He's not afraid of work. Okay? He is tireless. And I'm sure you've seen it whenever you've seen an ant going somewhere. He's tireless. You put an obstacle in his way, he'll just go around it. And that is one of the great key to success in life. You've got to be industrious. Those who are lazy invite poverty. And the ant is the opposite of laziness and poverty. Okay? So the number 7, the ant teaches you to be industrious and to be hardworking. Number 8, I want you to write this down. Number 8, the ant teaches you to seize your opportunities when they come. The ant teaches you to seize your opportunities when they come. Opportunities will always come. Opportunities will always come. All right, now. So, glad. Now I can finally see some of your comments. All right, now. Oh, you're loving that ant, are you, Miss Tracy? Okay. The ant teaches you to seize your opportunities when they come. Opportunities will always come. Are you ready for them? Or do you not recognize them because they usually look like work? They usually look like work. And because many of us don't ever prepare ourselves, we keep wasting time. And I want to tell you this. This is why I said to you that the ant understands the season of life and time. If you don't understand time and season, I can't really help you, folks. Okay? Folks, opportunities will always come, but you've got to prepare yourself for them. You've got to prepare yourself for them. The ant saw the opportunity in the summer and seized it. Seized it. You've got to learn to seize the moment. You've got to learn to seize the moment. The important point is that you must seize the opportunity in order to seize it. You've got to see the opportunity in order to seize it. Let me tell you what I mean. Sometimes it looks like work. Opportunity looks like work. Let me show you what I did, and that also gave me another avenue to have income in my life. Like I said to you, I was born in a country that speaks French, but I grew up in a nation, and I live in a nation that speaks English. And so for a long time, I put aside my French. Okay? The moment I stepped onto English soil, I put away the French language. Never thought about it because I wanted to learn English. Okay? I wanted to learn English. Now listen to me very carefully here. So I immersed myself in the English language. All right? I immersed myself. Write this down, please. You've got to learn to immerse yourself in order for you to emerge. You will never emerge in life until you immerse yourself in something. So I immersed myself in the English language to be able to function and emerge out of it. And then, when I started going back into the Francophone nations, because I understand French, I would be preaching and teaching in English because that's all I knew. I've only ever studied the scriptures, theology, doctrines, and biblical doctrines from an English standpoint. So I think in English. When I think about the Bible, business languages, I always think in English. But because I was born, and that's my first tongue, I could communicate. So when I was preaching and teaching in English, when people say something which I didn't say, I said, no, I didn't say that. Or they interpret something, and I didn't like that interpretation. I said, no, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. That is not what I said. So I will always correct them. And so one day a friend of mine, okay, his name is Jean-Louis Judith, okay? He's a medical doctor. And I was teaching, and he was there in the meeting. He said to me, hey, why don't you just teach in French? Okay, you've got it, and you've got it, so why don't you just teach in French? I said, nah, I don't want to teach in French. I don't know the Bible in French. Besides, I don't have a French Bible, and I don't know all the theological words. He said to me, Glenn, just do it. He kept on and on and on about me. Every time I would step in, I would see him and go and preach in his fantastic church. He said, I want you to teach in French. And he will always tease me to teach in French. And one day I decided to do it. And when I decided to do it, I figured, man, I can do this. I can do this. Now, at first I was a little bit nervous. The reason being is because, and even Creole, I'd never taught in Creole. Okay? And then he kept pushing me, teaching Creole, teaching French. You will open up avenues and other ways where finances will come to you. And folks, let me tell you this. I went to Paris, France, and I said, you know what? I'm going to teach in French in Paris. And I did it. I did it. And it's amazing how it opened up another stream of income to me. So you turn your disadvantages to your advantage, and you seize an opportunity. Now, it takes me a long time because all the time I'm thinking in English. Now, I said to myself, how do I say this in French? How do I say this? How do I use theological words that all I know about them is in English? How do I think about it in French? How do I do it in French? So it takes me quite some time to do it. And so right now I do everything. I take notes. When I teach in English, I don't use notes usually. It's right here. It's right here. But in French, I have to take notes. And it's getting better all the time. That's right. Thank you, Nella. May the Lord bless you. All right. Now, all right, number nine. The ant teaches you that preparations, planning, proactions, and perseverance are the foresight and insight we need for life's eventualities. Okay? The ant teaches you that preparations, planning, proaction, perseverance are the foresight and insight that you need for life's eventualities. Okay, life's eventualities are certain. It doesn't matter who you are, there are some things that you will not be able to escape. Okay, for example, no matter what you do to stem the tide, you will get old. I don't care. If you cut your skin and tie it up behind your ears, you're still getting up in age. Okay? Secondly, if Jesus tarries, you will die. These are life's eventualities. There are no two ways about it. However, you do not have to be caught unaware. The ant teaches you that you must be aware of life's eventualities and be ready for them. The ant understands that winter is coming, so he doesn't waste his summer. Are you listening? So you must look at life through the lenses of insight and foresight. You've got to understand and do what the ant is trying to get you to understand. The ant teaches you that preparations, planning, proactions, perseverance are the foresight and insight we need for life's eventualities. Okay, so I'm already thinking about 15, 20 years ahead of time about what will I do? What do I do now to have in place? Right now, I travel, like I was saying to you, I usually do take about 200 to 300 flights a year. Take 200 to 300 flights a year. All right? It's crazy, folks. I travel all the time. But there's coming a time that I won't be able to do that, and I don't want to do that. Okay? I've got to learn. Like I told you the first time we did the Life Enhancement series, you've got to make yourself to be the toll gate. This is why we're using right now this disadvantage of COVID to do daily teaching every day and turn these disadvantages to my advantage. Okay? Number 10. Are you ready? Number 10. The ant teaches you that there is power to fulfill purpose as a team. The ant teaches you that there is power to fulfill purpose as a team. Ager stated, the ants are a people. Look at that. He didn't say the ant is a small little creature. He says the ants are a people, not strong. People implies plurality of persons. Have you ever seen a bunch of ants, a colony of ants moving a dead insect? Okay, I'm sure you've seen this if you're in Africa or in America. The ant is moving, and you can see it. One time I was in Africa, and I saw in my room it can happen anywhere here as well, a cockroach. I killed that cockroach. All right? And one time in America here in my kitchen, okay, I killed a grasshopper. I thought, okay, I'll come back in a few. I was just doing some work. I'll come back in a few and put it in the dustpan and put it in the trash. When I got back, that grasshopper or that cockroach in Africa was not there. And I saw it moving. I thought, I knew I killed it. But when I looked closely, guess what? It was a bunch of ants carrying that cockroach and carrying that grasshopper, because the ant teaches you that there is power to fulfill purpose as a team. Okay? And the ants move that dead insect way bigger and heavier than they are. Is that correct? Okay, to their destination. They synchronized, now listen to this now, they synchronized their energy and their strength to move heavier weights than themselves. He knows that by himself he's limited. But with a team, he can move his purpose forward. Are you a loner or do you have a team around you? The word says one will put 1,000 to flight and 2 10,000. A team can lift things which are bigger and go higher. Jesus himself had 12 disciples, right? Paul had his team. Do you work in a team or do you just want to work by yourself? There's only so much you can do by yourself, but with a team, you can get much more done. In one of the laws of leadership is called the law of the lid, and the law of the lid is determined by your personal capacity and is also determined by the team around you. Your effectiveness is determined. Your strength is also determined not just by your own capacity, but by the team of people working around you and working with you. Like I said to you, all the books that I've done, our products look great, not because of me. The flyers that are done is not done by me. They're done by the great Paul Harvey. Okay, my buddy, which I've met him when I was 16 years old. Are you listening? And so he makes everything that I do looks good. Okay, I can have the information, but he takes that information and makes it and packages it. He will package it, okay, and make it look good. So as a team, we can go further in life. I have the information. I have to transmit information, but he takes that information and makes it look good. Are you listening? All right, so the law of the lid is determined by your personal capacity and secondly by the capacity of your team, working as a team. All right, and number 11, and we're going to close right here today. The ant teaches you that preparation will bring provision, okay? Present preparation will bring future provision, and that poverty and lack are avoidable. And that poverty and lack are avoidable. Okay, so let me say it again. Number 11, and we're going to close right here today. The ant teaches you the 11th thing, the 11th wisdom key that you can learn from the ant is that the ant teaches you that present preparation will bring future provision, will secure future provision, and that poverty and lack are avoidable. A lack of provision indicates a lack of preparation. By preparation, I mean setting things in their proper order. Poverty can be avoided. Poverty is not an indication of a lack of money. Poverty is an indication of misplaced, misused, and misguided money. Let me say it again. Poverty is not an indication of a lack of money. Poverty is an indication of misplaced, misused, misguided money. Lack is an indication that you never prepared your money to work for you. You never prepared your money to work for you. Again, which goes back to our first point. You start by your strength, but you got to make money work for you. First, you use your strength. You use your strength to make money, okay? Your time to make money. But then you got to become like Jacob. You make money work for you. You make your skill, your wisdom to work for you. So, understand this. Lack is an indication that you've never prepared your money to work for you. The ant prepares. How about you? Okay? Well, I hope you've enjoyed this 11 wisdom keys or principles of success from the ant. That's the words of Agur the gatherer. He gathered, he observed the ant and gave us some instructions on the end. Well, I hope you've enjoyed yourself today. I love you. I look forward to see you on Sunday for our live online communion and word service. And then also we will be having two services, one in English, one in Creole and French. All right? God bless you. Appreciate you. And if you missed the Q&A of tongues on glossolalia, please go and get it. Look at it. Share it, please. Please share it. And I know it was helpful to many people. If you missed yesterday's teaching, okay, thank you, Miss Bonnie. If you missed yesterday's teaching with Barbara Newcomb White, talking about prophecy, a voice from heaven. And I know you enjoyed that, some of you. Okay, so please go again, watch it, and share it to your timeline. Share everything, and please be a blessing. God bless you. We love you all. Bye-bye.